BLOCKTALES.
Hi everyone, this is BLOCKTALES. I'm Katharina from Luna Vision, and today with me I have Toni Lukic from Being Crypto. Hi Toni,
Hello,
I'm so happy
everyone.
that you're here. Maybe
Thank you.
a, can you give us a short introduction to yourself?
Yeah, my name is Toni Lukic. I have a background in law and economics. I would say that it's a pretty common background in Middle European countries. I worked in various agencies, marketing agencies for like state government bodies, like the what we call in Germany, the in Austria, the Wirtschaftskammer or the Arbeiterkammer, so labor union. Um, yeah, then I worked as a tax consultant, finished my studies, and now I'm in the ever-growing crypto space and working as a editor in chief for Being Crypto Germany. We have our own very own little community in Berlin, and yeah, working on making on contributing to that crypto adoption.
Amazing. Thank you so much. So let's quickly start with our first question that we always pose. And this is, how would you explain your Web3 everyday life to your grandma?
To my grandma, okay. That's actually a really tough one because my grandma, I tried to teach her how to write short messages on the phone, like a really old phone, and it's super simple. You need like just press two buttons and then you get to the interface. And I didn't manage to do it. I tried it for 2 years. She doesn't know how to write short messages, so SMS, she doesn't know it. Um, don't get me started on WhatsApp or something similar. It's impossible. So even explaining the internet to my grandmother would be like, I don't know, impossible. So explaining Web3 or crypto to her, if anyone can do it, I will give him or her €100 for that.
All right. I mean, there is a beauty in this too. So this actually means you have to call your grandma and you have to actually talk to her.
Yeah, I mean, yes, but no, I'll tell you what, Katerina, it's impossible. It's explaining the internet to her. I tried it, and the only thing I get back is like she mainly lives in Croatia, and the only thing I get back is when she listens to news, and then she's like, okay, I know that you get paid in crypto. Like, she doesn't know the difference between stable coins, Bitcoin, Ethereum, whatever, like whatever. But I've heard that Bitcoin is only for criminals in Croatian media. I have to say that. So Croatian media, please step your game up. And then she's like, are you sure like the wage you get is like it's really there? Did you try buying something with that? And I'm like, oh grandma, it's like I'm doing this like for over a year now, and still every time, like every month, whenever she hears something in the news, it's like, do you know if your money is safe? Like, is everything okay? Do you need money? You know, it's so funny.
I think this is actually like a common misunderstanding that we face as people working in Web3, right? That people outside of our bubble don't get it. And I've heard lots of stories where like people working in our field were like, "Oh, my grandparents, my parents, they all think I'm just working with criminals."
Uh,
I think we have a long way to go there.
Totally, completely agree. It's mostly for now, I would even say grandparents, because parents can still relate to it because they know what the internet is. They've used it, right? So I think that everyone has at least one parent who knows how to use like simple things like even email, you know. Um, but yeah, for grandparents, I think it's super hard. And if you just look at the facts behind it, we know that it's all just talk. I mean, there's reports by Chainalysis, by other bigger players who kind of show the numbers behind that myth. And what you can see is that there's really nothing attached to this narrative of Bitcoin or any other cryptocurrency being used by criminals. Not more than in the current financial system or anything compared to it in that scale.
Yeah, playing the devil's advocate here, it also depends on how you define criminal, right?
I mean,
So,
yes, yeah, completely. I mean, Chainalysis, I think, calls it illicit activity, and then they have like their own legend of what illicit activity is. It's like money laundering, it's a scam. It's, I mean, there is something to it, but not everything that's stated as illicit activity. Not even in the states, like in European states or in American states, illicit activity or illegal activity is the same. What is defined as a scam, what is defined as a scam in Austria or in some state in the US. It can be different.
and speaking of, actually, your grandma should like trust that you can define what is, let's say, illicit in this kind of perspective, because if I'm informed in the right way, you have been a tax advisor, and here
Yeah.
is my question that I really can't answer it for myself. Why? Why did you decide to become a tax advisor in the first place?
Um, Next one, please. Look,
I mean,
it's
what's going
it's
on in young people's minds to decide, oh, I'm gonna become a tax advisor? Because when I'm thinking of my tax, I'm like, please take this away from me and let someone else do it.
look, I think what's pretty interesting in this kind of job is that the economic activity, like everything that has to do with how a business runs. And what is really good, you see different business models. So tax advisory is actually pretty close to a business advisory. And what you see is all these different business models, because you work with tax. You see the gains, the profits the company makes. You see how the executives are taking money out of the company for their own use, then have to return it. Then you have all these different tools, and you see like the balance sheet for tax reporting is pretty similar to the balance sheet for the casual the casual profit and loss or balance sheet. So there are some things that are really interesting, and it was a really good learning as well for me. I understand economic or micro levels of a company way better than I used to before. And it's good, like afterwards when you finish with this job, it's good, like you mentioned, to kind of have this overview to understand how you can do your own taxes, or like your profit and loss in a way more efficient way. But to get back to the question, what was disturbing for me was this day to day work. So this doing accounting every day, it gets so monotonous that it's like you just lose all that passion you had before. So everything I just mentioned is super nice, but all this continuous same work every day is what makes it boring.
I couldn't agree more. Um,
Yeah, and that's why I left as well, because I just didn't see myself in doing this basically 85% of same work every day.
but what also annoys me about it is like it's not one rule that is like always the same. I have the feeling that
Yeah.
there are like a million tax laws, and
Yeah.
sometimes they're contradicting each other, and sometimes they're just expounding each other, and sometimes there's just something that doesn't make any sense for me to at all, because I have the feeling it's like from 1912 or something.
Yeah.
So actually, how much of these laws did you understand when you were tax advisor? Like, did you
I,
really have a deep feeling of everything, or were you just like knowing where to read it up?
I mean, it depends on the company you work for. There are companies that are specialized in different fields. There are companies that have a broad general overview, and I was at one company, one advisory which had this broad overview over the whole space. So yeah, you have to, and if you don't understand it, you have to read it again and read it again. um, but if you understand the general uh, like the general structure, then it's way easier. But to understand the general structure, you need a lot of work already. So that that's the problem. That's already like high volume of work, and you have to study, and yeah, it's it's a long process.
I can imagine, yes.
Yeah.
So, like when I first got into touch with crypto, it was basically at my work back then because I was working at university and I was like just reading the white paper then of Bitcoin, and this was more or less coincidentally. So, did you like what was your first touch point with crypto? Did you just like have a
For
client who was having crypto or
No, no, no. That was way after I started with crypto. The funny thing is, I was interested in crypto before I was interested in tax, and that's how, like, if you look at it retrospectively, you kind of see that okay, I should have actually started with crypto like from the beginning on. But that's a funny thing you're saying, because a lot of people started with the Bitcoin white paper, right? That's how people usually get into crypto. Um, for me, it was really just a phone call from a close friend, and he was like, "Hey man, it was 17, end of 17, is like, have you thought about investing in ICOs?" And I'm like, okay, I know stocks, I know what shares, bonds, and everything, but what are ICOs? And he goes on to explain ICOs to me, and he's like, yeah, and usually when you have an initial public offering, you have to register with the SEC. It's a huge process. Then you can only participate if you're an angel investor. But with this, you can invest in like early stage companies, and you don't have to do anything. You just buy crypto and you go in there. And I'm like, okay, give me 15 minutes, I'll be there. I was living in Austria still, and I just drove to his place, and we looked at all the YouTube videos we could find on ICOs, and how you store that was one thing I learned: how to store crypto properly. How to store crypto properly. At this time it was Ethereum, not Bitcoin, because for each and every ICO you needed mostly Ethereum. There were some with Bitcoin, but most of them were Ethereum. So yeah, we just started speculating on ICOs. That's how we started.
s- super interesting approach to get started.
Yeah.
So when did you actually hear about Bitcoin then?
Um, I mean, I did good research, right? DYOR. I did it from the very beginning on, because I knew, okay, if I'm going to speculate and lose all my money on speculation, that's fine, but I want to make sure that all of the prerequisites are there. So nothing is, it's not it's not my fault directly. Okay, it's the fault of the company, but I just want to make sure that everything I'm doing is correct. So, okay, I will store my crypto properly. I will understand for what it's used for. I will understand what Ethereum does. And then like I started with Ethereum, but right after that, I learned about Bitcoin. So I learned to understand what the differences are. And yeah, so like really deep understanding of Bitcoin, probably a year or two later. Um, but a scratch on the surface from the very beginning on. Yeah,
All right. Yeah. And that's unusual, I'd say, because most people really start with Bitcoin, I think,
yeah,
especially
yeah.
today. And to be honest, for me, I think it's the better way around because then you
It is.
really see first how a system works that like uses these characteristics that
Yeah,
blockchain technology is about. Like um, Ethereum, let's say, to be discussed if it really does, especially today. Back then, probably more than today, because back then it was like with proof of work,
yeah,
it was working different.
yeah,
Um, so today, especially the decentralization part from Ethereum,
yeah.
um, I think this is discussable.
Yeah, it is. It is. Um, well, first of all, I agree. I think if you're starting now, you should. You don't necessarily. I know a lot of people say you have to read the Bitcoin white paper. Um, I wouldn't agree 100%. I would say understand what the Bitcoin white paper states. So you could either look at some summary, or like just understand what it is. You
Oh,
don't.
taking the last like developments into account, just go to ChatGPT and ask him for a summary.
Yeah, right, right. You will probably get a better summary than you can find on the internet from some trolls.
Yeah.
Yeah, probably. Um, yeah, but you're not being sponsored by ChatGPT, right?
Oh no, I've just spent a lot of time trying what it can do.
Okay. So to get back to the question, yes, Bitcoin is a way better way to start. And Ethereum had or still has its problems. I mean, you can see it with the merge now. People were talking about, oh, the merge is so great. We will get staking rewards. We will have this. We will have that. Um, but what a lot of people forgot to talk about until this Tornado Cash thing was kind of considered with the merge is that decentralization is a big part of crypto, and it is actually a fundamental of a Bitcoin. And in my opinion, only Bitcoin can say that it's truly decentralized. Everything else, it's so hard to say because it's not black and white, right? It's black. If you would say black is decentralization and white is centralization, then black would be Bitcoin. Bitcoin for me is decentralized. Everything else is somewhere in between, somewhere in this gray area. Either it's dark gray or it's light gray.
I'd say
Um,
we have some white, like the
we
fiat
have,
money.
oh yeah, yeah, fiat money. You could say that it's white. Yeah, yeah. If you're taking this into consideration, for sure, for sure. I mean,
Yeah,
yes, that's the counterpart to Bitcoin, right? That's what Bitcoin was
exactly.
made for.
Yeah, I totally agree at that point because for me, it like blockchain technology is made to be decentral,
Yeah,
and if someone can like censor it at least to a certain degree, or if so many nodes are in one country that one country can actually create rules for this like network, then it's
yeah,
not really decentral to me anymore.
right. Yeah, I mean, then you probably also followed this OFAC discussion, right?
A bit, not
Yeah,
too much, but a bit. And I think if like yeah, if this is the result that one rule can change the whole network more or less,
yeah,
then this network can't really be decentral. I mean,
yeah.
yeah.
I mean, there's two opinions, right? One is that it's okay. It's still decentralized because there are validators that are validating non-OFAC compliant blocks. And then the result out of this is okay, so it doesn't matter. But the thing is, we all agree on one consensus, right? We all agree on the protocol on Ethereum as it is right now. So we all agree on okay, this is the one Ethereum blockchain we want to have, we want to use. Otherwise, we would have a fork, right? So the thing is, okay, we are going to use this Ethereum chain, and this Ethereum chain is validated by more than 50% OFAC compliant blocks, or the block is more than 50% OFAC compliant. Then I ask myself the question, okay, why? How can you have this other opinion of it doesn't matter, because it does matter. We all agree on this one Ethereum blockchain, and if this one Ethereum blockchain is censored, then well, then it's not decentralized, because one thing that goes with decentralization is that it is not censorable. And that's it. So yeah, that's why I'm saying it's a lot of gray in between. And Ethereum could make the switch, right? They could still have more validators that are non-OFAC compliant. It's only a screenshot of what we have right now. So yeah,
Yes, but maybe educate me on this. But in like as far as I understand this, with proof of stake now, the ones that are staking now, getting
yeah,
staking rewards, getting more say in the network, even more. So if now over 50% of the um, validators are in the OFAC system, then
yeah.
in the future it will be even more, not less, right?
The thing
So
is,
aren't we creating like a system that's getting more and more centralized?
yeah, the thing is, the validators are actually controlled or overseen by OFAC. So they have their permanent establishment in the US. So they're registered in the US as a company. And because of that, OFAC has the power to kind of oversee them or control them, because OFAC was then built I think it was actually a measure against groups in the somewhere in the Far East or something, like terrorist groups, and they wanted to freeze assets and money from people that were kind of, yeah, not in line with the American way of seeing things, I would just say, to be politically correct. So they had some. They were some. These people were some danger to the American system, or to the, yeah, to the American people, or to the American state or government. And what you can do is, not everything is staked. So what you can do is, you could, as a player, buy all the other Ethereum that are not staked, or more than the equal to what is more than 50% now of the stake that is validated. And then you could have a completely different um, statistic. So you could have more than 50%, which is non OFIC compliant, because you don't have your establishment, permanent establishment, or you're not registered in the US, but in some Eastern European country, or in Hong Kong, or wherever.
Okay, let me like throw a question here,
Yeah,
because how about a system where you don't know where the people are? How about a system where it's not obvious if you're in this regulator system or in this regulatory
yeah.
system? Um, do we know some?
I mean, that's what you have with Bitcoin, right? That's the easiest example.
Ah, yeah.
There was
Sorry, I
something.
wanted to
There
get.
was something. Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know, but somehow, if this is possible and if you can see this, I mean, then you also see it's even more proof of non decentralization, right? Because if you can see that so many people are there, and if you know where they are,
Yeah.
then you can even prove centralization.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, yeah. Just look at the structure of Bitcoin, and it's there's so many nodes, but that's because it goes with proof of work, right? That's what's not possible with Ethereum anymore. You have so many nodes, that it actually doesn't matter if the US wants to kind of prohibit Bitcoin, or the EU, or Germany, or Austria, or China, or whoever. I mean, China basically or partly did it. Um, it just kept on running. So yeah, you're right in this regard. You're very right. The question is only, do we need, for each and every application, do we need this full 100% decentralization? And
Fair.
yeah, and for me, that's the question really to ask, because people, and there we go back to generalizing crypto. People go back to generalizing crypto and saying we need everything decentralized, we need everything centralized. Neither. It's like there's there's so much gray in between, like we talked about it before. And yes, Bitcoin has its pros in whatever goes with decentralization, and with censorship resistance. But so does our technology, as Ethereum, or like in Ethereum competitors like Solana or Avalanche have. So yeah, I would say in this regard, we have always to do the trade-off: is, do we need this level of decentralization for the purpose this blockchain was built?
Absolutely. I mean, it also comes with downtakes. Like, speed is not that.
Yeah,
Bitcoin is slow. But what I think is like, it's annoying if systems like say or pretend to be decentralized
yeah,
and pretend to offer all this what decentralization offers. While if you can easily take a look at the map, you can see that it's just not true.
yeah.
It can't be decentralized if this is possible. So this is something I think, transparency is super important, especially in Web3 and crypto. So creating this kind of, it's not even untransparent. It's just like a white lie, maybe.
I
Then
mean, you are the marketing expert. Wouldn't you say that it's probably a marketing gag?
probably the problem is many people don't understand it at that point.
but that's what but that's what good marketing does, right? You don't understand it necessarily, you just know that it's the best product there is on the market, right? You It's not always 100% transparent. I would define it different. I would say it's not a lie, but it's also not the truth.
Yeah. Okay. That's what I meant with a kind of a white lie. It's
Yeah,
like not saying everything.
yeah,
Um,
right.
yes. And yeah, from a marketing perspective, that would probably work. But from a, like, let's say, believer perspective, and don't take me on the believer because otherwise it helps, like, people would say we are building like a religious group here, but we are not doing.
We are a
But from
cult.
that kind of perspective, I don't like it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I completely understand. But I think now is the right time to tell the people that we are building a cult, like a real cult, and you are the cult leader.
Am I? Tell me about it.
We are going to be the decentralization maxis. Whatever is there, Bitcoin, whatever, we'll take everything.
Yes. All right. That's a good part. But please, everyone, if you want to be part of this, you have to apply by, like, us, as the central authority of this
Right,
decentralization cult.
right.
Yeah. Totally agree there.
But it's two. So it's decentralized again. It's going to be me and you evaluating the candidates. So it's going to be two. So it's decentralized again.
Yeah. Totally global. Not the same law applying.
Yeah,
Everything's decentralized here. Yeah. Full agreed.
fully
Um,
decentralized.
Yes. But talking about cults and maybe less cults, but
Yeah,
communities. Community is super important for Web3, right? And as far as I know, I have been attending some of your community meetups,
yeah,
and I enjoyed them a lot. So you are founding, or you founded, and you are founder of Crypto Invest Berlin,
yeah.
which is a Berlin based community. So if I did the math in the right way, then you probably started this community right with your crypto career, right? How come?
A little before. I mean, I always had the idea of starting a crypto community because I have just seen so many bad ones that, and don't get me wrong, like each and every community has a certain goal. And I'm not saying bad because I don't like the people there, or I don't like the topics, but they just don't explain these topics to the people, to the community, like they should, so people understand it and people really um, take something out of it. It's like, why should I invest 2 hours of my life to be joining you at your monthly crypto invest meetup every third Thursday? Every third Thursday. You can also find us on Meetup. Why should I be joining and investing 2 hours of my life and just not getting anything out of it? And so we were like, okay, what could we? It's three founders, so me and two others, and we are like, what could we give the people so they take something out of it, so they have some input, and it's really explaining them of like how investment works, and probably I wouldn't say we will show you how you not lose money, how you don't lose money, because that's a very bold claim, right? You cannot say to someone, hey, you're not going to lose money if you do exactly what I tell you. But we are showing them ways of where the probability is very high that you're not going to, yeah, dot dot dot. You can fill this sentence. So yeah, we're talking about everything. We want to be inclusive as it can be, female, male, um, diverse. We really, everyone is welcome, and we welcome everyone with open arms. And we mainly talk about investment, but really everything that's attached to it, also taxes, NFT investments, DeFi, like really everything.
Yep, and always networking. There's
Yeah,
always networking opportunity too, I saw, yeah.
yeah,
So I heard some news that there will be some changes in the future, or some new appearances for these meetups.
yeah. I mean, should I announce this or okay? So what we have planned is, there is a great program by the Frankfurt School. There is the Blockchain Center founded by Philip Zander, and they rebranded, and obviously you were also a part of this, to Web3 Talents. So they have four different talent groups, which is Bitcoin talents, NFT talents, DeFi talents, and DLT talents. And we would like to kind of incorporate these groups to our monthly meetup, and we're going to start to do bi-monthly collaborations, basically with the Web3 talents that are in Berlin or want to drop by in Berlin. To kind of join forces and to further push this space and to educate people. And I think there's a lot of great synergies, especially if you take into consideration like all this push, all this knowledge coming from the Web3 talents, either by contributing as a speaker, as a guest, as a participant. I think that there's a lot of great things to come.
Agreed. And I mean, I've been a mentor for the DLT talents now for, I think, 3 times. You are a mentor for
Yeah,
the NFT talents. And I think this is a perfect opportunity to combine. And because if you are participating in one program, you know this program, but you don't know the other programs, you don't know the people from the other programs, even though they probably have similar interests and similar struggles and are new to the space too. So with this meetup, we want to actually give the opportunity and the floor to Web3 talents to meet not only within their program, but within all the programs, and
right.
to have the opportunity to hear about the other topics too, to make connections. Because in the talents programs, there are amazing people. And I think we are a lot of people here in Berlin, and there can be so many great synergies which
Yeah.
can lead to amazing projects, amazing future stuff that I can't even name now. So yes, let's say this to all the Web3 talents out there: you're very welcome to join this next meetup in Berlin, and we will probably also announce it
We will
again.
announce it properly and on time,
Yes,
so everyone
exactly,
everyone will know about it.
exactly.
Yeah, that's very nice.
Amazing. So maybe let's slowly wrap it up. And I have our two last questions for every podcast guest here. So the first one is, what topic, Web3, crypto, blockchain, whatever,
Yeah,
or also just another tech topic, don't you know much about yet? But what topic would you like to know more about?
yeah.
And why don't you know more yet?
The second part is easy. It's easy to answer. I would just say time. So I don't know more about it because I didn't find the time. Um, but I would say if I had to choose one, I would say, because it's also my own interest, like sustainability. I'm really curious about that, and I try try to live as sustainable as an individual as I can do or as I can be. So, with the hint of sustainability, I think that CO2 tokens, so carbon emissions, are a pretty big one to come. I mean, they're already here. They're already creating some hype, but it could as well take until the next bull cycle until they're really in all of the people's minds. So I think it's super important. It's super interesting as well, like how the collaboration between jurisdiction, so law and politics, and the space will work. Because I think it's going to require some collaborations, and it's going to require the right rules to kind of push through everything the space has to offer or the space has planned. Um, but I would like to know a lot. I would like to have a deeper understanding. Excuse me. I would like to have a deeper understanding of how this whole market works, because I think if you want to understand this tokenized market, you also have to understand how the traditional market works. And as I said, I didn't really have time to look into this, so I will. The first LinkedIn post you see, you will know. Okay, he took the time to look into it.
Amazing. So we all have now the opportunity to stalk what Tony does in his free time.
Right.
Okay, cool. And then to our last question. Your favorite crypto story in 30 seconds. Please finish the next sentence. Once upon a time. Tell us your block tale.
Once upon a time, there was a young me who thought he could get rich quick by investing in ICOs. And in like, if we just go back to this point a couple of months later, this young me was very disappointed and realized there is no way to get rich quick. You can only get rich in a sustainable and long term way.
Amazing learning and great last words for this podcast episode. Thank you so much, Tony, for being with us. And to all the listeners out there, see you next time.
Thank you, Kati. Have a nice day.
Block.